Hi everyone, this is the recording for the Unit 3 modified test in Part B of U.S. History. In this video, I will be reading the directions, the questions, and answer options for your Unit 3 modified test. In this test, there are 37 multiple choice questions and one essay question at the end, number 38, which is worth 20 points. Don't skip this question. I frequently go over these before the test by going over this with you in unit reviews, so make sure that you spend the time to do this. The due date or the date scheduled you're scheduled to take the test is December 20th. Please make sure to complete the test and have it submitted by Monday, January 2nd. Actually, let me just double check your date on this. I'm sorry, and it will actually not be Monday, but that is a Wednesday instead. I thought so. Okay, so when we return on January 2nd from break, you should have this test done, or a 0 will be placed in your grade book. Okay. Remember, you can always make up a 0, but having a 0 for a test is a lot to be missing. Let's get started on this test number 1, which was not one of the causes of the Great Depression: speculative stock purchases, severe drought, or excessive income taxes. Number 2, what did investors do that helped trigger the stock market crash in 1929? They bought stock on credit thinking that prices would continue to rise. They sold stock when the price was very high, or they bought only a few stocks that they were sure would increase in price. Number 3, which was a cause of the Dust Bowl in the Great Plains? Farmers did not plant enough wheat to maintain the soil. Native grasses were removed to produce wheat, leaving nothing to hold the soil in place. Or a lack of water allowed dust to build up over time and caused equipment to fail. Number 4, what caused the Great Plains farmers to leave their lands and migrate to California? Improved subsidies offered to California farmers, the desire to pioneer new farming methods in the West, or difficult conditions caused by the effects of a drought. Number 5, what name was given to the Plains farmers and others who migrated west during the 1930s? Okies, Dusters, or Callies? Number 6, what was one impact of the Great Depression? More people began keeping journals. People defaulted on their income taxes. There was a drop in the marriage and birth rate. Number 7, what did the increase in soup kitchens and bank closures illustrate? Problems in effective government regulation of industry, the effects of the Great Depression on American life, or people's failure to trust in each other. Number 8, what did Herbert Hoover believe about government and economics? Hoover thought that business and government should work closely together and provide aid to families. Hoover thought that government should provide people with support in case of unemployment. Hoover believed in voluntary cooperation between businesses with little government intervention. This is actually a typo over here with this circle with the selected dot in the middle there, so please don't use that to depend on or direct your answer. How did Herbert Hoover's belief about business and government affect the economy? Hoover wanted the government to take a strong role, but nothing worked. Hoover's belief in non-intervention kept the government from responding quickly and deepened the Depression. Hoover thought that business should seek direction from government, but most refused. Number 10, what happened to Franklin Roosevelt that enhanced his ability to relate to people and understand their problems? He lost a great deal of money in the stock market crash. Polio left him unable to walk. His experience in the trenches during World War I changed his outlook. Number 11, why was Hoover, an incumbent president, easily defeated by Franklin Roosevelt. The country's economic problem had grown worse, and people thought Hoover wasn't doing enough. Franklin Roosevelt was known for his humanitarian work. People wanted someone with a broader background in money and finance. Number 12. What technique did Franklin Roosevelt use to keep the American public informed? Informal speeches or fireside chats on the radio, daily press conferences that were reported in papers across the nation, press conferences on television. Number 13. What did the record number of bills passed during the first 100 days of Franklin Roosevelt's administration indicate? An attempt to end the free enterprise system? A commitment by the government to provide immediate relief? The idea that people needed government to take care of them. Number 14. Why was the Social Security Act an important part of President Roosevelt's plan for America? He hoped people would not actually request benefits, but knew they would feel better if the benefits were available. He wanted to deal with the problems of those unable to work at all, retirees, the disabled, dependent mothers, and children. He believed that protecting retirees was the first step in tackling the unemployment problems. Number 15. How did the passage of the Emergency Banking Act and the FDIC reflect Roosevelt's beliefs about the economy? Roosevelt wanted banks to regulate themselves once the government showed them the way. Roosevelt believed government could stabilize and regulate the economy. Roosevelt had very little faith in business, so government had to step in. Number 16. What do the Tennessee Valley Authority and the Federal Deposit Insurance Corporation have in common? Both agencies were located in the same part of the country. Both agencies are still in operation today. Or both agencies have the role of regulating banks. Number 17. People from both the right and the left objected to the New Deal legislation. Why? Some were concerned that the government was giving up too much of its power to financial institutions. Most wanted the president to take more action to provide people with the money they needed to live. Some people thought that the New Deal went too far, and others thought it had not gone far enough. Number 18. What were the key objectives of the New Deal legislation? Restoration of faith in banks, rescue the people in need, and stabilization of international economy. Relief for the people in need, recovery for the economy, and reform to prevent future problems. Assistance for failing business, buyouts for banks, and unemployment insurance. Number 19. How do historians evaluate the New Deal? Some say the New Deal cost the government power and influence. Most acknowledge that it did not end the Depression. World War II did. Many stress the infrastructure improvements as an area of little success. Dictators assumed the reins of power in parts of Europe and Asia during the 1930s. What made that possible? Dictators offered new political systems that promised peace. People turned to the military to protect them from anarchy, or dictators won support by promising prosperity and order. Number 21. What happened in Germany, Italy, and Spain during the 1930s? Parliamentary governments had difficulty forming coalitions. Fascist dictators assumed power. Leaders rose to effectively meet the challenges of the times. Number 22. Which leader is not accurately matched with its country? Hitler in Germany, Mussolini in Austria, Franco in Spain. Number 23. What actions on the part of Germany and Italy created conflict and led to requests for the League of Nations to intervene? The refusal to repay debts, the capture, imprisonment, and torture of soldiers from other countries, the invasion of other countries to gain new territory. Number 24. What did the passage of 5 neutrality laws in the 1930s indicate about U.S. foreign policy? The United States encouraged everyone to avoid war. Congress wanted to return to isolationism. Congress was unwilling to develop additional alliances. Number 25. What program did Franklin Roosevelt develop to provide supplies to the English in spite of U.S. neutrality laws? lend-lease, supply and land, borrow, benefit. Number 26. What famous words did President Roosevelt use to describe the attack on Pearl Harbor? A day that will live in infamy, nothing to fear but fear itself, or transformation of a lie into truth. Number 27. How did President Roosevelt indicate his commitment to being prepared for war? By calling for large contracts for corporations that build tanks, planes, and jeeps, by detailing preparations in his inaugural and State of the Union addresses, should be his, by signing the Selective Service Act requiring young men to serve in the military. Number 28. After the Japanese attacked Pearl Harbor, how did the United States respond? The United States dropped atomic bombs on 2 Japanese cities and invaded Okinawa. Roosevelt waited to hear further from the Japanese government about the reasons for the action. Congress declared war on Japan and the United States joined the Allies. Number 29. Why did President Roosevelt establish a War Production Board? To coordinate the production of war goods among corporations, to be certain that the government received the best deal from overseas producers, to organize the branches of the military as they developed the best strategies of attack. Number 30. What did President Roosevelt bring together to create what he called an arsenal of democracy? Liberty ships, planes, weapons, and supplies for the military produced by corporations, a munitions factory located in the center of the country that would supply either coast, ships from all the allies that could deliver weapons and ammunition to the ground troops. Number 31. What action taken by the U.S. government during World War II violated the constitutional rights of some citizens? Interning and detaining Japanese citizens in camps, preventing news organizations from showing casualties being returned home, arresting protesters that wanted to voice concerns about the cost of the war. Number 32. Who was not a U.S. military leader during World War II? Dwight Eisenhower, Douglas MacArthur, or George Reed? Which U.S. victory in the Pacific Theater took the Japanese by surprise? Midway, Tokyo, or Bataan? The D-Day, June 6, 1944, began the final drive of World War II in the European theater. What event does this D-Day refer to? The Battle of the Bulge, the bombing of Stalingrad, or the Normandy invasion? What do tinfoil drives, victory gardens, and rationing have in common? They were what the urban residents did to help farmers recover from the Depression. They illustrate the role of women during World War II. They were all parts of the sacrifices Americans made for the war effort. Number 36. What did the double V mean for African Americans? Victory and vengeance, victory in the war overseas over Jim Crow at home, or peace and economic prosperity? Number 37. How did women most directly support the war effort? Voted for congressional leaders who supported President Roosevelt, enlisted the military and worked in civilian jobs, including some typically held by men, or maintained their families at home while men went to serve in the military. Number 38 is an essay question. Write an essay explaining ways in which the New Deal was a success and the ways in which it was not. Give one example of each, one success and one failure, and give a summary of each event and explain why it was a success or failure. This concludes the recording for your Unit 3 modified test. Please make sure you contact me with any questions. Remember, you're completing your test and submitting it to me through Kmail when you are finished. Good luck on your test, and I look forward to seeing your work.